Okay, welcome back. Review 3. This is your cumulative review for lessons 11 through 14. So like I said, I assume you've been through all the guided notes and you are ready to do this review with me. Let's kind of pretend that we're taking a test together, and sort of beef up together, and then you can do the self-assessment on iTunes U on your own. Okay, here we go. Dive right in. Translate this sentence into an equation and then solve the equation. 4 times the difference of some number and 4. Well, I'm going to ignore this 4 times temporarily. How do you say the difference of some number and 4? Okay, so we know that is x minus 4. So the difference of some number and 4, but you want 4 times that difference. So we're going to put a 4 out front of these parentheses. Amounts to, means equals, the quotient of 96 and 12. And hopefully you're thinking that's 96 divided by 12. Okay, it says find the number. So clearly we're going to solve this. So now let's go ahead and solve. So we're going to have 4x minus 16 equals whatever 96 divided by 12 might be, which is 8. And remember, we're doing this entire cumulative review without a calculator. Keep solving. So by now you know you're trying to isolate the variable x, so we're going to add 16. So I'm going to go through this review as if you're fairly comfortable. Not going to add a lot of commentary the way I did in the guided notes that are on iTunes. So 8 plus 16, 24. And then now we know that we're dividing both sides by 4. And 24 divided by 4 is obviously 6. So arriving at x equals 6. Now we said it's ideal if you can take 6 and throw it back into the original to check your answer. But okay, let's go ahead and move into number 2. Notice the command, simplify. The command on number 1 was solve. Simplify and solve, those are 2 totally different commands, right? Here it's not an equation. We're just going to combine like terms. So I'm just going to highlight this one, and this one are like terms. And combine like terms really means add like terms in your mind. So, negative 1 plus 5 is 4. Minus 8 will bring me to negative 4x. And then I'm going to put a heart under the 9 and a heart under the minus 3. Those 2 are like terms. You're just going to combine them in your head. So 9 minus 3 is 6. When you arrive here, that's it. You stop. So note to self, just combine like terms. Okay? Now let's go ahead and head to the next slide. Okay, with this one, we obviously have to solve the equation, so we're going to apply the distributive property here. And I'll just take a moment to rewrite it. So then I'd have 17y equals 16 times y, that's 16y. And 16 times 3 is 48. Okay, and in class and in my guided notes, I talked about letters on the left, numbers on the right. So I want to grab 16y and chuck it across the equal sign, but I can't just chuck it. I have to negate it, subtract it off. So minus 16y. So like I said, I'm assuming you're getting comfortable now balancing an equation. So 17 minus 16, we got 1y equals, this is 48. So y equals 48. 1y equals 48 means the same thing as y equals 48. So you can just say it like that. Very good. Let's try the next one. Write the phrase, always look at the command, write the phrase as a variable expression. That really means translate. So the quotient, we know is a keyword for division, of 37 and the product of a number and 40. Well, first I'm going to, when you say the quotient of something and something else, focus on the word and. because whatever comes before the and is in your numerator. Aha. And whatever comes after the word and is in your denominator of your quotient. So the quotient of 37 and something else. But how do you say the product of a number and 40? Product means multiply. So the product of a number and 40 is just 40x. So really just have to practice translating that. Just maybe want to note to self that the product of a number and 40, all of that has to go in the denominator. Okay, let's head to the next one. We're cruising right along today. Change the word phrase to an algebraic expression and use x as the variable. Okay, how do you say 13 subtracted from a number? Well, by now you're not going to get tricked. Now you know that means x minus 13. So it translates in that way. Do not say 13 minus x. You have to say x minus 13. 13 subtracted from a number translates this way. Okay? Simplify the expression. Again, whenever I see, simplify the expression, I know I'm not solving anything. I'm more or less just cleaning it up and combining like terms and using the distributive property and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and use the distributive property here. So we're going to have negative 25n plus 20, because a negative times a negative is a positive, so plus 20, plus 2n. Combine like terms. So this one and this one go together, right? The n terms go together. So negative 25 plus 2 would lead me to negative 23n. And then I've got the plus 20. And then again, knowing when to stop. So after you've combined like terms, you're done. It's not an equation. You're not solving anything. Okay? Head to the next one. Solve this equation. We apply distributive property. So we will have 24y minus 12 equals 12y. And we've talked about this before, letters on the left, numbers on the right. So I want to get all my variables to the left side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract off 12y. Whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other. Then I'm forcing myself to record every little piece. 24 minus 12 is 12, so I have 12y. And then numbers on the right. So like I said, I'd like to take negative 12 and just move it across the equal sign. But I have to do the add up property of equality. So I'm adding the opposite to both sides of the equation, balancing the equation. 0 plus 12 makes 12. And here I have 12y. I'll just drop that down. So now I have 12y equals 12. If you're getting good at the mental math, you know that y must be 1. If you want to write an extra step, you may divide by 12. But 12 divided by 12 is obviously 1. Okay? Head to the next one. Now, by the way, I did want to mention I could grab 1 and store it back into the original equation here and check it, but for time's sake, I'm just going to, we have the answers attached at the end of the document, so, okay. We have distributive here, so 2x minus 2, notice that 2 times 1 is 2, then minus 14 equals 0. So by now you know that you're going to combine these like terms here. So negative 2 minus 14 is negative 16. Okay. And then I want to add 16 to the other side. Again, using the add up property of equality. So now I have 2x equals 16. And you want to do the mental math. You're thinking x is 8. Which is good. If you want to write out a step, you divide. Now you use the division property of equality and divide both sides by 2. So you'd have x equals 16 divided by 2, which is 8. Okay. Let's head to the next one. Cruising right along. Remember, these reviews are intended as if kind of like I'm taking a test with you and we're moving along with some speed through these 20 questions. Okay? Solve the equation. Combine any like terms on each side of the equation as needed. Aha, these two are like. So I'd have 32 equals, well, t plus 3t makes 4t, right? And then in this situation, you can just look at it. 4 times what makes 32? Well, obviously 8, right? So we know t is 8. But if you wanted to write out a step, it would divide both sides by 4. To get the t isolated, so then 32 divided by 4, that's going to give you your 8. Okay? Let's head to the next problem. Simplify the expression. Distributive. Now, keyword simplify, so we're not solving an equation. See, I'm alternating between solve and simplify. Simplify just means combine like terms and clean it up as best you can. Solve the equation means you're actually solving for a particular variable. So, 3x plus 15 then, minus 8. Now I'm just going to combine this one and this one, the like terms. Well, positive 15 and negative 8, or 15 lose 8 is 7. So we're going to have 3x plus 7. And voila. Okay? And then just know that you stop there because it's not an equation. So stop. Okay, next one. Area. We're getting so used to these key words, right? We know now area is this interior space inside the rectangle. We also know that area is length times width. And we can fill in the blanks. Even if the length of your rectangle is an abstract expression involving x. All right, fine. The length is x minus 3. And the width is 34 kilometers. Units are the same. So we can multiply. Here you're really just using the distributive property. So 34 times x, 34x. And 34 times 3, you might have to just, since we're not using calculators, you might have to go off on the side and think about that. 102. Okay? And you will arrive at an expression. So know that you just arrive at an expression, an algebraic expression for area, because you had an expression here. All right. Let's try the next one. Species A, a bird of species A, when diving, can travel 4 times as fast as species B. Now that we start to head into word problems, the big thing is lay out the pieces of the puzzle. So let's lay out species A, species B. And then you just kind of think it through and translate. Lots of translating. Okay, species A goes 4 times as fast as B. Well, how do you say that? Well, you'd have to say 4x. How come? Because species B, we don't know how fast they're going, so they're x. Whatever is and I'm just going to write here, speed. So the speed of species A is 4x. The speed of species B is x. So we have 2 expressions. Now let's see what we can translate further. The total speeds for the 2 birds is 180. Total, that's a key word for add. All right, so then we know that this expression plus this expression has to equal the 180. So 4x plus x has to equal the 180. Keep solving. So that's 5x equals 180. So that's x equals whatever 180 divided by 5 is. And we can kind of go off on the margin and do that. Which is 36. So x is 36, but the thing is, what is that? And then you go back and look at your key. That's why it's important to make a key. So the speed of species B is 36, what is it, miles per hour? Yep. Okay, so I always go back and label it here. So this one came to be 36 mph. And the speed of species A is 4 times as fast. So whatever 36 times 4 is, 144. So 144 mph. So like I said, it's really good just to make this key, and then that way you can kind of outline what you need to know at the end. All right? ATQ, answer the question. To use text language, ATQ, answer the question. Make sure you always throw it back into your key, and make sure you want to define the fastest speed of species A and the fastest speed of species B. So you have to throw it back into your key. All right, moving right along. 13 is just a straight up solve the equation, so I'm going to cruise through that as if you're comfortable. So negative 10x minus 40 plus 48 equals, and on this side of the playing field we can just combine those like terms. That's going to make negative 32. Negative 16 minus 16 is negative 32. On this side, these are like, so and that means on this side of the equal sign, right? So negative 40 plus 48 makes 8, positive 8. So now I have negative 10x plus 8 equals negative 32. Again, I'm going to use the add-up property of equality and subtract off the 8 from both sides of the equation. So I have negative 10x equals, well, let's see, negative 32 minus 8, that's going to make negative 40. And then you can do the mental math from there and see that x equals 4. Or, if you want to write out a step, which you probably do if you're just beginning, divide both sides by the coefficient of x. So divide both sides by negative 10 to isolate x. And you'll see that x is whatever negative 40 divided by negative 10 is, which is 4. Okay? Let's try the next one. Lots of solve the equation. That's what this post was all about. Okay, combine like terms. So negative 4 and positive 14 brings us to 10. And this term, 12x minus 11x brings us to 1x. But then we have minus 5. So phase 1 is combine like terms on the respective sides of the equal sign. Okay, now we want to get x by itself. All we really need to do is add 5 to the other side to balance that out. So 10 and 5 makes 15. So 15 equals 1x. That means the same thing as x is 15. 1x and x are synonymous. Okay, hope that helps. Look at that, cruising. We're already at number 14. Keep going. Solve the equation. We just want to get really good at this. Now the x is almost isolated. All we need to do, and I'll just rewrite the original here, when you have negative 5 equals 4x minus 1, all you really need to do is add that 1 to the other side. Trying to isolate x. Negative 5 plus 1 makes negative 4 equals 4x. And then you want to get x by itself, just divide by 4. So negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. So x equals negative 1. Wouldn't it be nice if we could do our test together? The self-assessment on iTunes you'll do on your own and grade yourself, but this is our rehearsal. I like to think of this as our rehearsal. So, okay, this one, letters on the left, numbers on the right. So I'm going to add 15n to the other side because the opposite of negative 15, right? So add, sorry, my pen's being fussy. Add 15n. Negative 16 plus 15 then is negative 1n. I'm going to keep the plus 1 recording. Negative 14, keep that. All right, now I want to move positive 1 to the other side of the equals, but I can't just throw it across. I have to negate it, add the opposite, because 1 minus 1 is gone, right? Negative 14 minus 1, we have a negative 15. Here I have negative 1n, and I almost have n isolated. You might be able to look at that and just say n is 15 mentally. If you want to write out a step, you could. You could divide both sides by negative 1. Okay. Number 17, solve the equation. So we have y plus 4 equals negative 5 plus 9. Those are like terms that'll lead you to 4. Move 4 to the other side, subtract it off. Now don't be afraid of this answer. This is a valid answer. 4 minus 4 is 0. So you're ending up with y equals 0, and that's a valid answer. Okay? And on top of that, I mean, just throw it back into the original. It makes sense. You know, is it true that 0 plus 4 balances with negative 5 plus 9? Or yeah, so that's true. Okay? We're almost, oh, wow, oh, I thought there were 20 questions. That's right. So there were only 17 questions to this review, and obviously the next slide has all the answer, has the answer key. We did it. Congratulations. Good luck out there.